We're going to change out the headlights in the 280ZX for some Sylvania Silverstars. There are also just sealed beam halogens, just a better output. Mine are starting to fade. Just want to point out this is much easier than the FSM talks about. The FSM talks about removing the headlight bucket, which requires you to remove the radiator grill and the front skirt and the side skirt and all kinds of crazy stuff, but you don't need to do any of that. If we want to remove the headlight, we just come in behind the car. You'll notice it's right here. I already unplugged the wiring harness from there, and really it's just 3 Phillips head screwdrivers, one up here, one down there, and then one here, and then we'll be able to pull this out. We're going to change this out and compare the difference between what's in here now and the new ones. On the passenger side, the coolant reservoir is going to be in your way, as well as the bracket that holds it in. So we're just going to pull the reservoir up out of the way first. Now that the reservoir is set aside there, everything's connected to it still, you'll see that this bracket's held in place by this 10mm that we're going to get off here. I've already gotten most of the way off, and then we'll need to take this one off here because it's connected from underneath as well. And with that bracket removed, you can see we have, similar to the driver's side, these 3 Phillips head screw heads, 1, 2, 3 in here. Hit them all with a penetrating lube, and then we'll remove that. And you also see here that the wire is still connected. And to pull that off, you just grab right here, work that off, and now this is the harness, and we're going to take this entire piece out. Once you've removed the headlight assembly, you just pull it out from the back side. Once you've done those 3 screws I showed you, there are 3 more screws right here, 3 little Phillips head screws around the edge of here, one here and then one there, and you just take those out and you'll be able to change out the bulb for the new one. On the left we have the original bulb, on the right we have the new Sylvania Silverstar, and you can see that we're going to maintain a general OEM look. We are going to move the dust cover from the back of the original bulb to the back of the Sylvania, and I also want to show you that the curvature of the lens, the convex nature of the new one, is very similar to the original one, maybe very slightly flatter. We have the retaining ring reinstalled back to hold the new bulb in place, again just with those 3 screws, and now we're ready to put this back in the car. You'll notice that I did go ahead and clean up the housing. I can't help myself with things like that. Sitting here in the dark right now, I've changed the passenger side but not the driver's side. We're going to go ahead and turn the lights on and see the difference here. The passenger side, that's the one on the left, is changed. The driver's side is not. I know it's hard to tell from the video, but the passenger side is definitely kind of a whiter, brighter light. I wouldn't say it's a massive difference. Now that we're done with the passenger side, I'm just going to show you a little more detail about how to reassemble everything for the driver's side. It's the same on both sides, but when you put the new sealed beam bulb in, you'll notice that on the back of the sealed beam bulb there are a couple of places where the glass is raised, and those go into these notches. And there's only one way that they'll fit properly. They're not evenly spaced, and that will make sure, and it's a little thing, but it'll make sure that the writing on the front of the lamp, which says Sylvania Halogen, will be sitting the proper way when you install this back into your car. But obviously you have to get it seated properly, or otherwise you'll have a gap. So just make sure that those tabs drop in. Then the retaining ring, after this is set in properly, also only fits in one orientation, and you're just going to, again, set them over the screw heads that you loosened before in the front. You'll pop it in, and then you'll just rotate it a little bit clockwise to lock into each of these tabs, and then you can screw that back down. And once those screws in the retaining ring are tightened back down, you can then work this back into place. From the back side, you just have to kind of angle it around the hose and things as you did as you're working it out, and then we'll work on reattaching the wiring. And the housing is now back in place with the screws. We're just going to replace the dust cover over the terminals, and then we'll plug in the original harness right here, and we'll be done with replacing the headlights on our 280ZX.